You've just had a tournament or belt test, so now what? If you're anything like me, that event was a huge emotional ride for you. For me, anytime I've had to compete or perform at a test, I have this huge buildup beforehand. I'm training a lot. I'm stressing about details. I'm anxious. I'm nervous about performing in front of people. I'm worrying about making mistakes or things going wrong or getting injured. I'm excited too. I'm excited to be performing, to be competing. I've been working really hard at this. It means a lot to me. And then I get to the event itself and all of those feelings are amplified. It's a high stress situation. I also have adrenaline pumping through me. And then after, maybe I've experienced a victory. I had some success that day, or maybe it was a huge failure. It felt like a failure. I made a lot of mistakes. I got my butt kicked. I got injured, whatever it is. And then I crash after that, and I need to rest. I need to recover. But what I do is I end up dwelling on that day. And I spend the next few days or weeks maybe wallowing because I did poorly, or I bask in the glow of all those happy feels from having a victory that day, and I get stuck in all of those feelings about my performance. So does this resonate with you at all? Sometimes we do this. When things go poorly, we tend to focus on what went wrong, right? And we dwell on it, and we might start to engage in negative self-talk and think, oh, I suck. I worked really hard at this and I failed. I've been practicing for so long, but I made that mistake again. And we dwell on all those mistakes and we end up feeling demoralized and demotivated because of it. And we get stuck. We stagnate. And the same thing can happen, stagnating, when we focus just on what went well. If we bask in the glow of it, right? And we think about our victory and we relive those moments again and again in our head. Maybe we have some video footage of it, of our performance, and we watch it again and again and go, oh wow, look at that moment. That was so awesome. And our friends and family cheer us on and we all feel really good about it, but we get stuck as well. So, that might seem counterintuitive that, being positive and focusing on the good stuff can get you stuck. But if you think you did everything right, then there's nothing to fix, right? If you look at that performance and say, oh, it was awesome. Next time I'll just perform the same way because it worked well that time. Well, you haven't improved. You haven't changed anything. And maybe it won't work so well next time. Maybe against a different opponent, it won't work well. In a different situation, it won't work well. We really, as martial artists, we really want to improve, right? That is our goal. And we are striving for mastery in our art and our sport. And in order to achieve that, we need to keep pushing ourselves. And if we get caught up in thinking either we suck and we did stuff wrong and we dwell on that, or we get caught up in thinking, oh, we did awesome. I got a gold medal. I'll just keep everything the way it is, maintain the status quo. We won't improve. We won't achieve mastery over time because we'll keep doing the same thing over and over again. So we do need a bit of both to keep moving forward. So here's an activity that when I was on a tournament team, we started doing this for every tournament, and I found it incredibly helpful for getting me out of that emotional rut after a tournament or a belt test, where you do have that high stress ride and you do crash, and that is normal to crash after because you get that adrenaline dump and all that stuff going on. And then after, you do need to rest and recover, but that's when our mind starts going, right? And we can, risk spinning out over this stuff. So what we started doing is something called glows and grows. And this is something you can do for every tournament you compete at. You can do this for every belt test. You can do this every time you train at the dojo after every class. You can do this after every training session at home. You can do this after every single thing you do. Like you practice one kata for a half an hour and then you do your glows and grows. And then maybe you work on some sparring, you do your glows and grows. Okay, so what we did this for every division at every tournament. So I always competed in weapons kata, and sparring. And after every division, if I had time in between divisions, if not, I would do it at the end of the day and try and remember. I would pull out a binder and I would write down 2 glows and 2 grows. So a glow is something you did well. And a grow is something that you could improve upon. So it's not something you sucked at. It is a mistake that you made, but you're wording it in a way that doesn't make you feel like crap about yourself, okay? A glow, something you did well, that isn't very effective would be, I did awesome today. Okay, I did awesome. Yeah, it's kind of vague and it doesn't help you move forward, right? It doesn't help you see areas of improvement either. What you could say instead is, I performed with a lot of intensity today. Okay, and that gives you something that's a benchmark, right? So you can look back over time at all of your glows and grows you've written down and say, okay, maybe intensity is something you've been working on. And in the past, you felt a little wimpy when you were performing. And then at this tournament, holy crap, like you really upped the ante and you were super intense during your performance. And then after that, you can kind of compare and see if you kept that up and if you improve from there, right? So being specific and as specific as possible is really helpful here. So I performed with intensity. That's a well-worded glow. A well-worded grow could be acknowledging your mistake, like I didn't get low enough in my stances. And then what you do with that is you come up with an action you can take after that. So you can say, okay, I didn't get low enough in my stances during my performance of Sayunchin or whatever kata. So I will practice my stances for 10 minutes a day, every day. It's a lot different than saying, I sucked at my stances or I sucked at this kata. That's not helpful. But if you're specific and try and word it without judgment, without judging yourself and saying you sucked, say, okay, well, actually, what didn't I do well? Well, my stances weren't very low. I could have gotten deeper. Okay, now what can I do from here? I can work on my stances. I can do more stretching, right? You have something that you can work on now. So you can do this for every division. Like I said, you can do this for the tournament as a whole. I would also, what I started doing is writing down my thoughts before every tournament. So I would use all my glows and grows from the past to figure out my intentions for the upcoming event. So I would write them down and then I would come up with some goals. Here's some things that I can work on. I can work on my stances. I can work on my breathing. I can work on my pacing. I can make sure that I eat enough before an event so I don't gas out when I'm sparring. And then I work on that. And then at the event, what I would do in the morning is write down my intentions for the day based on all of my past glows and grows and what I learned about, my successes and failures at the last event and all the previous events. And I could say, okay, my intentions for today are I'm really going to focus on my intensity today, or I'm really going to make sure that, I've stretched enough in the morning so I can get deep in my stances. Right? So you can see it's very specific information that can keep you moving forward. And it takes the emotions out of it. It's a bit more of an objective approach rather than getting caught up in feeling really good or really bad about our performance. We can pull back and say, okay, what did I actually do well? Like if I were my own coach, if I were my own sensei, what would I say about this performance? If I'm being respectful and kind and objective, what would I say about it? And okay, this one, I made some mistakes. How would I word that to keep me as student moving forward, right? So you are kind of, in a way, becoming your own coach by doing this. And it's really helpful for keeping you on track and getting all of those, the downside of like after a tournament, when you feel really low and you start getting caught up in your feelings, it gets you away from that and back on track to moving forward. So it can really, really increase your confidence and it gives you a plan of action. So every tournament you go to, every belt test, write this stuff down. Consider starting a journal or a binder. I have a binder. I write it all down. You can use an app on your phone if it's more convenient, but you can use it to keep track over time of your wins and your losses. You can use it to do some planning and some goal setting. You can use it just to feel good about yourself. You can, I look back at some of my first tournaments and I don't remember specifics, but I go back and I read this stuff and it's like, oh, right. I did perform better than I thought. Or, oh yeah, there was this and this that I needed to fix. And that's something that, it reminds me, I still need to work on that now. Or I do that mistake with this other kata now. So you can learn so much from doing this. And like I said, it's more of an objective approach. You don't get so caught up in feeling crappy about yourself and you're kind of being your own coach, coaching yourself along. So be very careful with how you word this stuff. I finally didn't suck at a kata is not a good way to say it. Try and frame it in a positive way. Like I performed really well. I performed with intensity. My pacing was really good. My stances were nice and clean, that kind of thing. Things that you need to work on. I like to write down what the mistakes I made, not in a mean way, not I sucked at this, but okay, I didn't get low enough in my stances. I gassed out while I was sparring. I walked into too many punches, that kind of thing, and be specific so that I can go, okay, now what do I need to work on? and then I come up with a plan and a set of intentions for my upcoming events. So consider doing this after your next training session or tournament. Write down 2 glows and 2 grows. It doesn't really matter how many you do. You could do 1 of each or 3 of each, but make sure you do both. And then you write down what actions you will take after that and then do them.